Oh, you thought we were done? Sharing our candid conversations from the SUPERZOO 2025 show floor? Think again. Prepare to be transported back to our soundproof hotbox in Vegas, where we spent 2 days interviewing some of the pet industry's most interesting people. And today, we have a conversation that we are particularly excited to share with you. If you've ever watched cable TV or scrolled through streaming services, you've probably come across the incredible Dr. Pol. It's a reality show that follows a rural Michigan veterinarian and his team. The show ran for 24 seasons, and reruns are very much still airing on National Geographic, giving viewers a front row seat to the challenges, triumphs, and sticky situations that come with veterinary medicine. But what you might not know is that Dr. Pol and his family have also built a thriving business in Docson Brands. Not spelled like the popular dog breed, but like Docson, which is a play on words I promise you're going to get here in just a second. But their philosophy is simple: affordability, accessibility, and quality care for every animal. Today, we're sitting down with two of the people that made the incredible Dr. Pol possible. Charles Pol, Dr. Pol's son, who served as an executive producer and became his dad's sidekick on screen. Get it? Doc, son? Anyway, he's the CEO, and they produce animal food for dogs and cats, as well as farm feeds for horses, goats, rabbits, poultry, game birds, and other animals. And joining him is Mike Stankevich, who spent 12 years as a producer on the show and now works in marketing and strategy for Docson Brands. This conversation covers the journey from reality TV to retail shelves, what it takes to build a brand with real integrity, and why affordability and accessibility in veterinary care and animal nutrition is becoming increasingly important.
Welcome to Barking Mad, a podcast by BSM Partners. We're your hosts, Dr. Stephanie Clark.
And I'm Jordan Tyler.
My name is Mike Stankevich, and I was the executive producer on the incredible Dr. Pol. Started as a producer and ended up as the showrunner. And then the show ended. And then now I'm working with Charles in marketing and strategy for Docson Brands.
Very cool.
My name is Charles Pol, and I am I was an executive producer on the incredible Dr. Pol, as well as one of the co-stars on the show. And along with Dr. Pol, we founded Dr. Pol, or Docson Brands in 2018, which runs the Dr. Pol line of products. So I'm the CEO right now. That's my main job. I've retired from producing and really just focusing on growing the brand and the excitement of learning a new business.
Do you miss production at all?
No, I don't miss. No, I mean, like, my background was always in more of development. As a producer, there's different types of producers. There's a producer who, you think of a producer who's is an on-set producer, a showrunner, a producer, a line producer. Those type of producers are used to being on set, right? And then there's the other type of producers who are more in the development, developing projects, pitching them, selling them, packaging them. So that's kind of more like what I was interested in and what I was good at. So when I sold the show about my dad, like, I was kind of committed to then go on set and produce the show because it's about my family. Like, I never was supposed to be in front of the camera. I was always a behind the camera member of the show as a producer. And during the first season, we kind of, I think it was one day in, my dad's riding by himself, and he's dealing with clients, but there's just really not a lot of interaction besides with the clients. What is it? He's just driving the car by himself, right? Like, there's nobody to talk to. So they're like, well, we really want like an interaction, like somebody that he can bounce off. Like, Batman needs Robin.
Yeah.
Without Robin, there's no Batman, right? And so it was determined that the best way I could help the show was being my dad's sidekick. So it was a role that, like, I never planned to take. So I kind of stepped back into my childhood. It was really cool because when I was a kid, I didn't really like veterinary medicine. I had to go out on the road with my dad, and, I was interested in TV, and I wanted to watch TV and watch movies and play video games, and I had to ride with my dad all day. So it was like this thing that was always in my life, but didn't have an appreciation for it. And then, I went off and did my thing in entertainment and did that. And then it brought me full circle back to my dad and be able to ride with him. But then he learned my business too of entertainment. So we both like developed this real deep appreciation for what the other person was doing and understanding. And it really was this thing that like I treasure. And it was one of the reasons why I don't miss entertainment, because there's nothing I can do that will ever equal that. I've climbed the mountain. I've done that. So this is a new mountain. This is a new adventure to climb and learn and kind of struggle through. So I'm really excited about doing this.
I love that.
I would say that's an awesome story.
Yeah.
Well, I can say that I do miss production, but in the Dr. Pol world. Working on that show, starting as like a field producer, and I'm just following Dr. Pol all day and getting to know him and then living there. And I got married, and my wife worked on the show, and we created this thing together. And when the season finale was done, I'm not a podcast person to be on or camera. I'm like behind a bunch of people just filming. And then when they did the season finale after the last one, it was very difficult because I'm interviewing Dr. Pol for the last time. And it's been 12 years working with Charles and Dr. Pol. And so asking these questions and then putting me on the show, I was like, I'm not interested in any of that. But what you see is like a relationship that I built with him and mutual respect. And then Charles's brand, Docson Brands, and working with Dr. Pol and all these licensees, he was telling me about it. And it took me like a year to like not think about working in television anymore, and switching to this side is very exciting. It's a different thing, and it's like a new challenge. And so I don't miss production, but I do still hang on to like, man, like following Dr. Pol was something else, like once in a lifetime opportunity, because he's just an interesting person.
Yeah. And you said 12 years?
Yeah, I started in April of 2012.
Wow. So you feel like you can...
Staying on it.
You're a vet now? No, I'm just kidding, but...
Well, I have to unlearn stuff, so keep asking the same questions. Like, Doc, can you tell me about prolapse? He's like, I've said that 100 times. But I'm like, yeah, but we always new viewers for the kids.
That's incredible.
Like, I never thought I would ask about prolapse so many times in my future.
Yeah, you learn quite a bit. But it's interesting about Dr. Pol is his whole overarching ethos of just affordability and accessibility, and seeing that now transfer over to the brand it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean that was really the philosophy, when we started talking about this. Well, backing up about the show, that just to say, like, I think what was really unique about this show was that Mike's situation of being there for 12 years was not unique. I mean, almost the entire group of core camera operators, audio engineers were around for almost since season 2. Our DP, our director of photography, was around. He was in the first season, and that's unheard of. The usually shows have a churn of people, but I think one of the secret sauce to our success was this core group of people that kept coming back year after year after year. Everybody took a lot of pride in that, and the pride in the relationship. And I always talked about it as summer camp. Everybody has a great time, but then by the end of the summer camp, you're like ready for everyone to go home, and then you go home. And in our case, it was a hiatus. We never really shut down. Over 12 years, we never really shut down production more than like a month. But you would have a hiatus so everyone can go home to their families.
But there's nothing like watching a live calf being pulled, like your front row seat.
Yep.
And then there's times where we're very polite and cautious with all the farmers, like ask permission to be on the property. Can we film this? And sometimes people who film with all the time, they're like, can we pass on this one? This is like really intense. And so, and then it was all hands on deck, and I'm pulling a calf with Charles.
Wow.
And it's like 2 weeks into my first job,
and you're like
on the show.
And you didn't leave. You didn't run away.
This is And it's like the electricity when you pull a live calf.
Oh, yeah.
And then Doc's like, he's got his coveralls just down around his waist, and he's just covered in
Yep.
embryonic, was it fluid?
Yep.
And it's like, this is really remarkable. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't seen this on television before.
You literally help bring life into this world.
Yeah, and there's something in the air. Like, you could feel it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, you guys obviously have something really special, in Dr. Pol as it existed historically, and it's really followed you, it sounds like, through to where,
The brand.
where the brand is now.
Yeah, it's really, the people that you surround yourself to grow a business is almost as important as a strategic direction.
Yeah.
And that's really something we learned. And going back to that, I just reiterating that, like, the secret sauce to our show was like how close everyone was in making it. Like it was a team. We were a team. We were all in it together. We were all going through like combat together, because production is combat, right? And we're all going it together. This band of brothers, like going into war together every day, fighting the elements and sometimes the animals, whatever.
Well, you're spending so much time in the car. I mean,
we spend so much time together.
Yeah,
just throughout
in
the
your
day.
dad's garage.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think he misses all of us crawling around his property, and
yeah, they really do
quiet.
miss it. But I mean, we kind of carried that forward to the brand.
yeah, exactly.
A lot of the ideologies too. Like I have to give a lot of credit to my wife, because she was the one who really, I was very focused on the show, and doing that job. And then when we got married, she gave up her career to move up to be with me, and she was looking for something to do. We were talking about what she wanted to do. And she said, well, I really think we could build a brand out of the ideology. And so the conversations began to happen about what that brand was, and the one big thing that we didn't want to do, one thing that I didn't want to do that so many shows do, is they just label slap, right? Like it's capitalizing on the fame, right? Or capitalizing on the success of a show. But that, I always told Beth, I said, that's radioactive. It degrades. Every year it's going to get less and less and less and less and less, right? You're degrading your own brand by doing that. So I don't want to do that. I want to sell something that improves, that actually means something, that builds a brand that's around, right? And I, when I go in and I talk to retailers about what Dr. Pol, the brand, stands for, I said, Dr. Scholl's was a real guy. We don't realize, now that he was a real guy. Colonel Sanders was a real guy.
Yeah.
Kellogg's, which is funny because they're getting out of the cereal business, but Kellogg was a real guy who developed this. And those brands lasted generations or are still going on, right? And it's because they built something. They built a brand that outlived them. And that's really was my goal, is to build something. And how do you do that? You have to have a product that you can sell, that people want. And then it's okay, they want it, they'll take a chance on it because it's got Dr. Pol on the label. But if it's not any good, if it doesn't have the value, they won't buy it again. And so to build a brand that sustains, the first thing we had to do is like, okay, we need to make something that's quality. We have to sell something that is good, that actually delivers. And then the second thing is like affordability. And then balancing those two things, right? And especially within the dog food, because I mean, that's, our brand is very diverse, but it is the engine that drives our brand, is the dog food, because it is one of the biggest selling animal products out there. And people always had a lot of questions about dog food, so it was finding a partner. And we found a great partner who had a lot of experience in manufacturing, but not really their own brand. They did a lot of white label. And they were really interested in developing a brand. So that made a great partnership because we understood the brand. We understood where we wanted to be. We understood the strategic direction. And they understood the manufacturing. And then Dr. Pol got together with their animal nutritionist. And it was really a discussion like, well, this is what I see. This is what I think. This is what my experience has taught me about animals. And they began to talk about like, okay, well, this diet and this and this. And so we put together this first line that we launched with. There's a limited ingredient line. and our extruded large animal feed. And that's where we began. We're like, okay, we're going to build a limited ingredient line. We want to sell it cheaper than everybody else. We want to provide that value.
Yeah.
It's still going to be a premium product because it is a premium product.
Yeah.
But to deliver the value. We started the brand in 2018, and then in March we had product ready. We had secured a deal with Tractor Supply for our large animal product, and everything was looking great. And then COVID hit. And, and our launch strategy was, especially with the large animal feed, and our whole strategy was based on this cool display, this pallet display idea that where we had Dr. Pol in the display and had the food built around it. And we launch in the stores, and COVID happens, and they shut down the stores, so nobody could see our display, right? And so it became a problem. Well, we were doing pretty good sales, but it really became a volume issue.
Yeah.
It's like they're moving massive volumes at that time. Like food was selling gangbusters. Everybody couldn't keep it in stock. So it was like a little bit of a step back because of COVID, and then COVID passes and we launch again. And at that time we had developed our OPP, opening price point line, Incredi-Pol. And we looked at developing again, the limited line is a great food, but not everyone can afford a premium product. So we wanted something that was cheaper, but we, again, balancing that quality. So we took like a step down, just a little bit of a step down where we could balance that quality in there. So we launched the Incredi-Pol, and then we built success, opportunities. And now we're in a lot of brick and mortar retail, and we've seen a lot of success. But that's on partnership, that's on philosophy, understanding the core tenets of our brand and what we are. Mm-hmm. Dr. Pol stands for affordability, accessibility, and then balancing that with quality. But the two things for him are really affordability and accessibility.
And I want to come back really quickly to the affordability piece. This is something that our consumer strategy expert, Michael Johnson, it's like one of his shticks right now, is the pet industry is kind of like at a race to like the top price point right now. Everything's super premium, everything's ultra premium, and the price point to show for it. And we're like kind of ignoring this huge swath of the market that would, they either can't afford to buy such expensive pet food, they have either too many pets, or they just don't have enough income. And there's like so many consumers in this space that care deeply about the health and wellness of their pet, or their animal, and want to do the best by them. And so having like a high quality, high integrity brand like what you guys are doing at a more accessible price point, I think is like, it doesn't sound like it might be innovation, but that's innovative in today's industry.
It's difficult, right? And it really has to do with the consumer trends of online shopping. And I'm not knocking online shopping because I know that it's where it's going, right? But in online shopping, if you want to be on Amazon, you need a margin of 50% because of the fees and the cost and the bag shipping and the packing. And there's so many things behind the scenes that go into that. So you need like this huge margin, right? So to support online sales, you need a premium product or a super premium product, like a high price point product, so you can have enough margin to make a profit, right? So when you look at like an affordable product, when you look at, there's two ways to do it, right? And like, so some manufacturers, and I'm not gonna call anybody out, but they'll decrease their cost by substituting or putting in cheap ingredients. That's one strategy. Or you can try to do a more quality product and just shave those margins, right? And say, okay, well, we'll take 8% margin instead of a 10% margin. And we're going to work a little bit with a tighter margin and try to do more volume, right? Because then there's the volume play, which is like, kind of, I would say the Walmart strategy, right? Like low prices, high volume.
Yeah.
Right? That's the other way you do it. So it's difficult. It's been challenging. That's been one of, I think, our most challenging things is figuring out how to do Amazon. Mm-hmm. And we're slowly figuring it out, trying to figure out how to strategically reduce those fees to make everything more efficient, to cut the costs. And that requires a lot of learning, sometimes the hard knocks, but you begin to learn how to do it. So that's what the brand is starting. And we're really excited about a new initiative into that for affordability and accessibility that we're starting. It's called Dr. Pol Care. and it's a vet triage service, a subscription vet triage service that we're offering. Advice, triage, basically for $8.95 or $90 a year. We're selling a subscription service for 24/7 access to a veterinarian in a matter of minutes. You can get online and chat to a veterinarian, and that's been something that really has grown out of, again, philosophy. Dr. Pol.
Well, he can't take all the calls.
He can't take all the calls, but there's a shortage of veterinarians in this country.
Yes, yeah.
There's a shortage of vets because there's not enough vets graduating. There's limited space in vet schools. There's not enough vet schools. The demand for veterinarians is higher.
Jumping in here because there's been some debate on whether we actually have a veterinary shortage in this country. So let's explore that really quick. In 2023, Mars Veterinary Health, which is a subsidiary of Mars Incorporated that owns a massive network of veterinary clinics, including Banfield, Blue Pearl, VCA, and others, released a report predicting a shortage of up to 24,000 companion animal veterinarians by 2030. But the American Veterinary Medical Association, or AVMA, kind of clapped back. They partnered with a consulting firm and concluded that there is, quote, no dire shortage of veterinarians anticipated in coming years. Particularly, and this was kind of their whole point, if 13 proposed new veterinary schools got accredited, which would represent a nearly 40% increase in vet schools over a 10-year period. Their analysis also showed that the percentage of veterinarians in companion animal practice has actually grown 12% since 2001 and is expected to keep growing through 2035. So is there a shortage of veterinarians for our dogs and cats? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on where you live and kind of who you ask. But here's what we can all agree on. There is definitely a shortage when it comes to food animal or large animal veterinarians. So according to the AVMA, only 20% of first-year vet students come from rural backgrounds, and even fewer express interest in practicing in a rural setting. In 2025, the USDA declared 243 rural veterinary shortage areas across 46 United States, which is the highest number that they've ever clocked. And most of these shortages are in the Midwest, the West, and in Georgia. And beef cattle has been identified as the species with the greatest need for veterinary care. So while there's definitely been debate, there's shortages somewhere, especially in Dr. Pol's neck of the woods. And there's at least one other piece of this puzzle.
And then there's the second price is the cost of veterinary medicine keeps going up because, and I'm not blaming any vets on this, like everyone wants to make a living, right? But it's like everyone wants a better living. They are graduating with more college debt and it's getting more expensive. So they need higher salaries. And again, like there's two ways to do business is volume and price, right? And I would say 99.9% of all veterinary offices decide to do the price. They increase their prices in order to do that. There's very few that will say, okay, we're going to do more volume. That means more work.
Yep.
Right? Like working harder, working faster to be able to get through clients and see more clients. My dad has always been a volume person. He wants accessibility and affordability.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's interesting, too. Like 90% of the calls that Dr. Pol gets, he triages instead of come on in and discharging an emergency fee.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping with this service, it could save people money to help. Even if your dog or cat or something has an emergency, you can talk to a licensed vet, their 5 years experience, and they can walk you through it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool and just builds on the, again, affordability, accessibility, like tenets that you guys have built really everything around.
Everything around it.
Yeah.
That's
And
saving
all
people
about-
money, too. Like, so
Yeah, saving people money. I mean, like, you know, and there's a two factor, and we talked about this, Mike, just the other day. There's two factors. If your animal is sick, if you're home and your dog starts having bloody diarrhea, you're gonna freak out.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep. I get a lot of.
And you're gonna wanna take that vet. You're gonna want to take them to the vet, and you're probably gonna call your emergency vet office and be like, you're gonna go in there. Well, most likely you're fine. You could wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. Like it happens. Right. Let's see it tomorrow. You're gonna cost yourself a emergency vet visit, which let's say, like, let's be generous and say $200
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Probably more. but let's say $200.
Yeah, it's pretty generous.
And you don't
Just
necessarily
walking through
need
the
that, right?
Yeah.
Just walking in the door.
Yeah, just walking in the door. But you don't really need that, right? You don't need that. You could wait and not pay that. So we can save those people money by, having that triage and having them say, you need to see a vet, but call your vet tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it tonight or this weekend. Call Monday, first thing Monday morning. And then, it's check back in with me.
Yeah.
We Dr. Pol Care provides a triage assessment to every patient. And there's different things like emergency, you go vet right away, like call your vet tomorrow or, whatever. And some of them are conditional, and they'll always say, like, if something changes, check back in with us because our recommendation might change. You know?
Yeah.
But, like, with that, though, those people who would run to the vet, it's not just about saving them money. It's about the fact that emergency clinics only have so much capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in that emergency clinic because your dog ate pot and you're freaked out about it, you're taking, it's not an emergency. There's nothing they can do. They'll just tell you go home and let it sleep it off.
Yeah, right.
But not only are you taking, costing yourself money, you're taking an appointment slot away from somebody who may need it.
That's
So if somebody comes in that place with a hit by car, they might have to wait, and that could be the difference between life and death. So I think that, we're actually helping the emergency vet industry. We're not taking business away from them. We're helping them by actually giving them the clientele that actually needs them.
It's also interesting. There's a big part of people that never go to vets.
Totally.
Yeah. And
because they're priced out.
Either priced out or just
distance, availability,
whatever the reasons are.
Yeah, there was a study that came out recently that was like 7 out of 10 pet owners these days have forego veterinary care, routine veterinary care. And you put that up against like the whole, trend toward preventive care. And we want to do the best by our animals so that they don't have X, Y, and Z later in life. We want to try to prevent that as much as possible. There's a disconnect there, and it's rooted, I think, in price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's rooted in price 100%. It's rooted in, I think there needs to be more vets. It bugs me that even the vets that are coming out of school, and I know tons of great ones that are coming out of school, right? Like eager people, they're not getting the hands-on experience that they really should have in school anymore. This is just my opinion, and it's maybe controversial, but in my opinion,
I like spicy.
Vet schools should be no different than barber colleges, right? It's like if you're going to vet school and you have a clinic at your vet school, which all of them do at a hospital, the students should be working on the vets. And I know some schools have hands-on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But too often, I've talked to vet students who are graduating. I've seen things, documentaries on vet schools. I've gone to vet schools, and it's the professor who's seeing it. And all the students are walking behind, and they're watching the professor. Why? Because veterinary universities, the vet college and the hospital, the research, they make money for the university.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be their principle. It should be cheap. It should be $8 to go to the university to go get your pet seen, because they're going to have a student work on it. And then the students will have more hands-on experience and graduate knowing more, right? How many vets have come out of college or out of university and degrees? How many have we seen? I can't even tell you, who are like, I've done a spay. I've done a spay.
Yeah.
And one.
Good luck.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, so now they're coming out of college and they're going to these hospitals, and they need to be trained. I think they're being too relied on being a diagnostician, too much reliance on machines and technology. It'd be like, okay, your dog has this. Okay, I'm going to run this test. We're going to give them an x-ray. We're going to do an ultrasound. All these things, you're running up the bill, doing all these and then you're like, okay, well, it turns out it's this. Why don't you come up with the diagnosis based on the symptoms, based on a physical examination, and then run a test to confirm if you need to? Or how about just treat and see if the animal gets better?
More people go see a vet.
Yeah, more people would see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with diarrhea. Most of the time, if you just let it run its course for a couple of days, it goes away. And it's like, no, we got to give antibiotics, and then you're causing more issues, but I won't go down that.
But especially if they have a relationship with you, they'll just call you.
Yeah.
Clients would call, hey, check back, let me check back in, and then you'd have these conversations, and then the vet bills were
Much more manageable.
yeah.
Let's pause here for a second to take a closer look. Why are veterinary costs going up? And more importantly, what's driving the gap between what veterinarians want to provide and what pet owners can actually afford? Going back to the AVMA, they say it's not as simple as vets are just price gouging us. But Charles is right in that there are legitimate systemic and economic issues with today's veterinary profession. The AVMA has a few theories, so let's kind of go through those. First, supply and demand. Small, independent practices, kind of like the one that Dr. Pol runs, have been struggling for the last several years to compete with corporate veterinary groups when it comes to hiring new graduates from schools. Corporations that are buying up veterinary clinics can offer massive signing bonuses, comprehensive benefits packages that usually go beyond what small practices can offer. The list of perks goes on. And all of that sounds really great for vets, of course, but it comes at a cost, ultimately and often to the pet owner. Then there's the education piece. As veterinary care has advanced dramatically over the last few decades, the quality of medicine available today is light years beyond what was available even 20 years ago, which, again, is incredible. For vets, it's incredible for animals, but it also means a higher cost to deliver that level of care. Now, where it gets especially complicated is that newer veterinarians aren't always being taught how to scale the care they provide based on what the client can afford. So in other words, we're not teaching this newer generation of vets that care can be tailored to the economic situation of that client, and that incremental approaches aren't animal abuse. Charles has a really great story to illustrate this point here in just a minute, so stick around for that. Finally, though, there is the corporatization and the consolidation of the veterinary space, and that's something Charles admitted he's deeply concerned about. As more independent practices get bought up by corporate groups, the focus shifts to predetermined profit margins, and to hit those numbers, corporate-owned practices often cut lower-paid personnel, so vet techs, assistants, and support staff that make the practice run smoothly. Those get cut first. And this creates really overwhelming workloads for remaining staff, or the DVMs, making it harder for them to do their jobs effectively, and many burn out and leave the profession entirely. So when Charles and Mike talk about seeing people pull out high-interest credit cards to pay for veterinary care, or when criticizing the test first, diagnose later approach, he's pointing to real systemic issues that are making vet care less accessible for millions of pet owners. But let's talk about what that looks like from the other side of the clinic.
Yeah, I was always the bad guy. I worked at an emergency hospital when I was going through school, and I was the bad guy that had to come in with the bill. And okay, here's the estimate of everything, and they just look at you. You know, they're at a vulnerable, desperate time. You know, I'm from the Midwest, outside of St. Louis, and so my dog ran through a window because it saw a bird or a deer. It got ran over by a four-wheeler. Like, these are actual cases I've seen. And you're coming in and you're like, okay, so $3,000 later, and we don't know if your dog is going to be okay because it may have some neuro issues. But I would just sit down with them. I'm like, okay, look, your dog, got ran over by a four-wheeler. Do you need an echo? No, let's start. Let's see what's going on. Any bones broken, any pain, let's get our hands on them. So yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, yeah, I was that person for a long time. So I definitely feel like, and I mean, this was, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. But yeah, and that was when things were cheaper.
Do you think that style will make a comeback? That kind of treatment? Like, we're hitting a critical mass of so expensive. Do you think it will turn?
Something's got to change, right?
Right?
Yeah.
I'm an optimist.
Somebody's going to step in, but there's also a group of veterinarians. I think the affordability within veterinarians is starting to come on. My dad was out there kind of on an island by himself for a long time, screaming from the mountains, taking arrows all over the place about wanting to just say, let's be affordable. Let's use common sense. Let's, where possible, we can turn back and look at older techniques that may be cheaper to give them to people who can't afford modern techniques or an echo or whatever. it really comes down to, like, there's a story my dad tells. There's a client of his, a horse that had a twisted stomach.
Mm.
And the outlook on a twisted stomach's not very good.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
It's not a very good outlook. But this was like a horse that they really cared about. So they took it down to a university, right? And the university looked at the horse and they decided to do surgery. So they removed 12 feet of intestine out of the horse and put it back to stitch it together. The horse was going on for a couple more days and it had some more problems. So they went back in their necrotic tissue, remove another 12 feet of tissue or intestine. And then they sew back up the horse, and a couple more days, the horse dies. They present the owner with a $25,000 bill. And they were talking about, like, oh, well, we were able to do this. Like, you did it, but should you have?
Yeah.
Like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something, especially if it costs $20,000. And then the people end up with a dead horse and a $20,000 bill. That's nuts. Yeah. And this is, like, too often more of what is happening. And I think that one thing that needs to be offered in vet schools, besides more hands-on education, is business training.
Yeah.
We need to teach vets to be businessmen, people, to understand those things. I'm really worried about the corporatization of the veterinary industry. Like, I'm not saying all corporations are bad, but the vet clinics used to be a vet had their own practice and ran it, and maybe they had associates, but you would always aspire to be a veterinary.
Right, yeah.
Have your veterinary practices, right? But now people are graduating, they just want to do it. And like businesses, they always build on efficiency, and they don't allow independent thinking or independent diagnosis. They hand you it, and they're like, okay, if it's this, I need to do this, and if it's that, it's not doing that. And you're no longer practicing veterinary medicine. You're just like a machine worker at that point, right?
Okay, I swear I'll get off my soapbox soon, but I'm just going to make this point really quick. It is not just pet owners who are feeling the strain of rising costs. Many vets feel caught in the middle, too. Take this study from PetSmart Charities and Gallup, which surveyed more than 900 practicing vets across the United States. Nearly all of them, 94% of them, said that clients' financial concerns, quote, sometimes or often limit their ability to provide the care they would recommend. That means almost every single veterinarian you have encountered at some point has had to watch a pet leave their clinic without the care it needed because the owner couldn't afford it. On top of that, nearly half of all veterinarians, so 48%, say their education didn't prepare them at all for having conversations about money with clients. And another 32% say they were only minimally prepared. So we're asking vets to navigate one of the most emotionally charged aspects of their jobs, right? Telling someone their pet needs expensive treatment without ever really teaching them how to have those conversations. So, like, no wonder there's a disconnect there. We've talked a lot about the emotional toll on pet owners, but there's also a very real emotional toll on vets. According to this study, 73% say it's difficult to watch clients struggle with costs. 74% say that euthanizing a pet for financial reasons, so not medical ones, but because the owner can't afford the treatment that their pet needs, is one of the hardest part of their jobs. And 41% say that happens at least sometimes in their practice. This is the reality both vets and pet owners are living in right now. And it's what Charles and Mike are trying to address from the pet food aisle, from the veterinary triage side, and from really any angle they can think of. The question here isn't, don't you love your pet? It's, how do we build a system that actually makes that possible? Because at the end of the day, everybody here, the vets, the owners, the people working in the industry, they all want the same thing. They want for animals to get the care that they need.
I'm really glad you guys did to share your story. I didn't know it, but I mean, just talking with you guys, you can feel the passion, you can feel the care, and it definitely translates over into what you're doing, whether it's vet care or food or, whatever brands. And I think this is so important for pet owners to hear. Like, sometimes they think of pet industry, oh, right, you're in it for the money, But no, there are genuine people out there that truly care, that are truly doing their best. And yeah, you guys have to make a profit because things have to go and you've got to put it back into the business and keep growing it. but at the same time, you are considering nutrition, and is it affordable, and is it, accessible, which is huge now with all the supply chain issues. So I'm really, I dare say I have goosebumps in this hot box, but like, it really is so nice to hear people truly caring, because sometimes they're just like, yeah, this is the trend, we're going to do it, and the owner's going to just pay for it because this is what is hot,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will just say I'm very excited about the pet industry as a whole, having been in it. And like, I'm new, I'm learning the business, I'm learning about the brand. I have an idea, I have goals to want to achieve goals, and I love being able to, one of the great things about building a business, you said making a profit. And that's the important thing about making a profit, is we're able to provide jobs.
Absolutely.
Like, I have people who now work for us. I had Mike. I have other people that work for us. Another guy who worked for us for many years on the show. He's a great guy, and I love having him on the company. And we have 2 older ladies who work for us, and they do like some of our shipping and stuff like that. And being able to provide for other people, like signing the front of a paycheck, you always think of how great it is to sign the back of a check. But honestly, the real reward for me is signing the front of the check, knowing that I'm actually helping people and their families survive and providing a living for people. Is that feeling is like, that drives me to the moon. So every time we have success, I just think about like how I'm able to share that success and grow the business and hire more people and provide for more people and sign more fronts of checks. So I love that. I love signing the front of a check more than I love signing the back of a check personally.
Walking around SUPERZOO, everyone's wonderful.
It's a great industry.
Yeah.
I'll just say
so
that,
many
like,
passionate people.
I mean, it's got its issues. Like, it really does have its issues. Every industry has its issues, and I have no problem calling out, calling balls and strikes how I see them, right? So I'll be critical, but I just have to say, everybody in the pet industry, everybody here at SUPERZOO, everybody I've met, it's great. They're great people because they love animals. Almost everybody loves animals. That's why they're in this business. They're passionate about animals. And that's one of the great things that I'm just going to leave you with this. It's one of the great things I learned about a show. A lot of people talk about, oh, you're famous. What is it like to be famous? I never consider myself fame. I never saw fame. Like, I didn't really want to be in front of the camera, right? My dad is 80 years old. He doesn't care.
Yeah,
fame.
yeah.
But what we do love, and what I do love, is meeting great people. I love meeting people. We're in 180 countries, so we have people coming to the clinic or coming visiting us. It's unbelievable. We have people come from China, people come from Italy, people come from like Morocco, and all these different places around the world, right? And you have nothing in common with somebody. There's somebody from Morocco, you can't even hardly speak to them, right? I love your show. What we do have in common, what brings us together, is our love for animals.
Yeah.
Right? It's a universal thing across cultures, across religions, across things, across political spectrums. It brings people together, and it allows people to focus because you have something in common that you really are passionate about, love. And that's what I really loved about this show. That's what I love about our fan base, and that's what I love about our industry is we really bond on something that can bring us together.
Right. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great note to end on, and this will not be our last conversation.
Yeah.
I'm confident in that. Before we wrap up today, I want to be really clear about something, because this conversation has touched on some really sensitive issues around veterinary medicine, pricing, and some of the pressures facing both pet owners and vets. So if you are a veterinarian listening to this right now, we see you. We know you did not get into this profession to turn people away or to make impossible choices between your patient's well-being and your practice's financial situation. But the systemic pressures you're facing, from student debt to the corporate consolidation to potential shortages, those are real, and they're not your fault. Charles is really speaking from his experience as someone who's watched his father practice for decades and built a brand around making care more accessible. But we recognize this is an incredibly nuanced issue, and there's no villain here, there's no silver bullet. It's a system that's broken in a lot of ways and needs fixing from multiple angles, and we're gonna have to work together to make that happen. And actually, if you'd like to hear more on the side of veterinary burnout and the emotional toll that this job takes on the people that are part of it, check out our previous episode linked in today's show notes. It's called Saving Pets, Losing Ourselves. And it's a little heavy, but it explores why and how we've gotten to this point and shares some interesting insights from a practicing vet on how we can move toward a more equitable veterinary industry for the professionals who support it and for the pets and people it serves. Now, don't be sad. This conversation is just part one. Sometime very soon, we'll be sitting down with Dr. Pol himself, yes, the man, the myth, the legend, to pick his brain about the state of the veterinary industry today and learn more about why his brand's ethos of accessibility and affordability is so important to him and countless other animal lovers. You can find links to everything we discussed today in the show notes for this episode, including those Mars and AVMA reports on veterinary shortages, more information about Docson Brands and Dr. Pol Care, a link to the incredible Dr. Pol on Nat Geo if you'd like to check it out, and even some supportive material around some of the veterinary and pet care topics we covered today. Happy reading!
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Barking Mad. If you want to learn more about BSM Partners, please visit us at bsmpartners.net. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite leading podcast platform or share it with a friend to stay current on the latest pet industry trends and conversations.
We'd also like to thank our dedicated team, Adamiette Thomas, Neely Bowden, Kate Wright, Katie Wolf, and Dr. Katie Miller. A special shout out to Leanne Haggerty and Michael Johnson in support of this episode, and to David Perez for our original music in the intro and outro. See you next time.